So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the October Roundup. In today's podcast, we are going to be talking about a couple things. First things first, how I nearly lost 4 clients in the space of one weekend. I think it is so important for me to share some of my losses as well as wins. I mean, you guys actually don't see as many. You guys actually probably see a sliver of the wins that I actually have in business. And that's just because, look, day to day, I don't have cameras rolling. I don't really like to put stuff on my story, this and that. I think it was a little different last year, maybe even in 2018. But these days, I don't know. Life goes on. But in the flip side, I don't always share my losses. And I will say after 4 years of running my agency, I don't really take as many L's as, I used to in my early days in 2017, 2018, et cetera. But that's one thing that I want to touch on with you guys. The second thing that I want to touch on is Nepal and our latest project in Nepal. And I get a lot of questions from people asking, how do you go about building schools in Nepal? Why Nepal? How much does it cost? Operationally, what's it like? I even, have people ask me questions like, do you teach a traditional curriculum, or is it, are you really just, is it just 300 kids? Because the capacity of one of the schools that I build is, roughly around anywhere from 250 to 500 students. So, these are 250 to 500 kids right there that could potentially be vying for Danny's role. We always tell them, we're like, Danny, careful, because we have a full school of Nepalese children just on Ads Manager all day trying to take your job. So I get questions like that. So I just want to go a little bit, get a little bit more nitty gritty and go into some of the brass tacks of, our projects in Nepal. So that is that. And then obviously going to end off with a new acquisition this month, watch-wise for me. I'll be talking about the Rolex Skydweller. So with no further ado, let's get straight into it. Now, my L's or an L. And it's funny because I was talking with one of my buddies and I was explaining I had a pretty dreadful weekend. And one thing you need to understand about losses, and by the way, guys, I will say I have 30 minutes more that I can record this podcast. Would like to run it a little longer than that, but I actually have a client call that I can't miss this specific one. So one thing about wins and losses is they never come in ones. Have you ever noticed that you'll take one L and it just seems like one after the other, after the other, after the other. And same thing for a win. You sign that one client and then it seems like this compounding effect. I remember earlier on, very early in my journey, my first client I signed August of 2016. It took me 6 months of, outreach and sending, back in the day, I used to send proposals and all the stuff that I tell people not to do these days, until I got my second client. And my second client was a company called Athlete, now rebranded to Genflow. Sean, the founder, I have so much respect for, and just incredible company, incredible company culture. They're actually our partners for Gadget, the clothing line. But anyways, back to my point. That was my second ever client. I remember I was 17 years old, 1,900 pounds a month. When I got the green light on that, I was actually sat outside my school hotspotting my computer because I needed to take this call, and it was like lunchtime, I remember, and it was just super loud everywhere. I couldn't find a room, and I'm hotspotting, taking this call, and I got the green light. I run in and I go to my best friend Filippo. I just shout in his ear. I'm like, dude, we're rich. Not like I'm rich, like we're rich. I was like, because that was always my mentality. My mentality was always like, I'm gonna make it, and then me and my boys, like me and the people who were there for me when I had nothing, like we're gonna enjoy the spoils. So I remember just screaming in his ear, Filippo, we're rich. So that was I remember I got that client on the Monday, and then it was like the Thursday I got a 1,500 pound a month client, personal trainer, who was running all of his social media marketing. So 1,900 a month, 1,500 a month, and then there was on the Friday I got a 750 one a month. So 3 clients in a week, and literally just going from I still actually had, at that time, I still had that first client I ever signed, and that was 300 pounds a month. Or sorry, no, it was 380. And it was because I charged weekly. So I thought it would sound cheaper if I charged weekly, and I didn't want to charge 100 pounds a week, so I charged 95 pounds a week. So it came out to 380 pounds a month was my service fee. And once again, even with that first client, I thought I was the richest man on earth. So in the space of the week, I went up to, what was that, 34, just over $4,000 a month at the age of 17, like 4,000 pounds a month. And as I said, I honestly felt like the richest man on earth, and I didn't know what the hell was about to come with the rest of 2017. Really a life-changing year for me, the business, the agency. So my point is that wins and losses come in multiples. I remember last year, to give you an example, one of my losses, in the space of 48 hours, I had 3 clients drop. Now, I will say these 3 clients, 2 were a shock. Well, actually, one was a shock. One I knew was coming for a long time. And the other was actually a bit of a relief, because just to be entirely honest, they were a bit of a nightmare client. But between those 3 clients, I lost 25,000 pounds a month in set retainers. It was actually something like 24,000 something. But anyways. And you need to remember that my agency is pretty much set costs. I have a team, we have software, but apart from that, there's no real other costs. These days, I think back at that point, this was March of 2019. Yeah, it was March of 2019. And right at the end of March of 2019, and we started running cold ads for the agency in April of 2019. But you need to remember my costs for my agency, for the most part, ads fluctuate, on a month by month basis, depends on how much we're spending on ads to bring in leads for the agency. But for the most part, my costs are pretty much steady. That 25 grand a month meant that was not like 25 grand a month, rev or whatever. That was literally 25 grand a month in my pocket gone, right? Because my expenses stayed the same. That was 25 grand a month in revenue, just lost. Comes out to what, like $32,000? Like, that is business sometimes. And I remember, man, there was just like, at that point I was I was coming up to my third year of agency life. And 2019, all fairness, was the year that I started signing some big whales. In fact, it was Q4 of 2018 where I really started to ramp things up. But I think that was a loss that that was hard for me at the time, because I didn't have enough context. And one of the things that starts to happen as you get further and further along in your agency journey is you start collecting more of these reference experiences under your belt. And when that happens, you'll get hit with a loss or even a win, and you'll realize just how fickle these experiences are, because they come and they go. And you have enough reference experiences to know that really what life is like is, you get some highs, and you get a bunch of highs usually bunched up together. You get some highs, and then drops, and then it goes back to sort of like a homeostasis and goes back to neutral, and then you get some losses. And it's really these large periods of sort of inactivity between these really big, really high highs and really low lows. So, I think this, what I experienced over a weekend, it was 2 weeks ago, with those 4 clients, having issues with 4 clients, and almost being in a situation where I was almost like, damn, I think I literally might lose 4 clients this weekend, which for me at this stage of my agency journey is not normal. Like, that is, like, if we lose a client in a single month, that's an anomaly. As I said, we worked really, really hard, and things were not always like this. For us, the anomaly would be if we kept the client for the month, so it's taken a long time to get here. And, you guys, I'm sure, in fact, 2 weeks ago, we uploaded something on YouTube, something Tristan, my creative director, and I have been working on for a long time, which is, my road to how I got here. And if you guys haven't seen it, I strongly recommend you watch that video. Yes, granted, it's an hour and 28 minutes or whatever, but it's literally a video of someone who has paid his dues and kept the receipts, who has said he was going to do something, even when everyone was fucking laughing at him and tormenting him and, throwing shade at him, and did it. And he kept the video footage of it. So yeah, I strongly recommend you guys go check that out. So anyways, I wanted to kind of, I'll go obviously without revealing any personal information or anything like that. I'll explain sort of the different situations. And, the funny thing is, I remember it was just a shit 48, 72 hours. And like, I remember it was after the second client. It was the third and fourth client where literally like the situation arose and I laughed when I saw it. I laughed because one thing I've learned in life is anytime you have losses, or what you perceive to be, what you perceive to be you taking L's, to me, it's, and as I said, same thing with wins. To me, it's kind of like when you're going into a really strong ocean and you have the waves coming at you, and like, you try to duck and dodge and this and that. Like, I've just noticed that the best thing to do is just stand firm, let the waves hit you, and if they carry you away, so be it. And I think surrender is such an important aspect of life and business, because so many times we just try to fight these things. And as I said, to me, it's just, it takes a lot of time. As I said, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of reference experiences to get to this point. But to me, these highs and lows are all a part of the game. And if you know that they're a part of the game, then you know that they're going to be coming. And for every high there's going to be a low. And for every low, there's going to be a high. In fact, actually, I was looking down at my arms to see whether I had a tattoo. I was like, in fact, I have a tattoo called "This Too Shall Pass." And then I realized that's one of the many sayings that I say again and again that I actually don't have tattooed on me, but it is on season 2 of Gaji. But I always say that this too shall pass. And another thing that I say all the time, and I'm kind of known for, is saying when it rains, it pours, and that's negatively and positively and negatively. I remember being back in Cape Town with my buddy Pete. Some of you guys listening to this may remember Pete. He was my interim videographer and editor before I hired Tristan for 5 months. And, initially he basically was just doing a month of work for free. He was an agency incubator student, saw I was coming to Cape Town, reached out, and we just ended up clicking like instantly. And, now he's one of my best friends. And, we spent a month together. And then after that month where he just shot all my content, I told him, I was like, dude, like, I'm happy for you to, crash with me. Obviously I'm getting these really sick villas. I'll cover all expenses, living costs, this, that. And, you do my stuff in the evenings, and then from, morning until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, just do your own personal stuff, build your agency. And, we had an arrangement like that. And I remember it must have been 2 months. And like, it was, that was a very interesting experience for me to see, because it's just like, yes, I have, Greatagency.com, this behemoth education company. And yes, literally every single day on Slack, my team puts in our student wins. And like, even, I don't know if you guys, if you haven't, I strongly recommend everyone on here go check out Agency Incubator and Copy Paste Agency on Instagram. My team puts out like literally every single day there's a new testimonial, and not one testimonial, like they'll batch like 4 or 5 different student success stories. It's like the sheer volume and quantity of wins that we have in the community is just nuts. And, obviously, I mean, I've had students stop me on the street. I've had, even the event, like that was shocking. Like I've genuinely had people be like, "Eman, you have changed my life. And you are the reason that I was able to pay for my mom's medical operation. You're the reason I was able to quit my job. And I can finally, for fucking once, see my kids." Because I never got the chance to do that. I would always, at my old day job, I would leave at 7:30 a.m. in the morning and come back at 8 p.m. And I never got to see my 4-year-old. Like, yes, I get told all that stuff, but like, and it's incredible. It's heartwarming, but like, it was nuts for me to literally physically see someone go from zero, like nothing, no experience, to by the time that I'd left. And out of respect for Pete, obviously, like his privacy, I'm not going to share his specific numbers, but like, honestly, get to life-changing amounts of money, where he's managing, he has 5 clients, and you guys can kind of figure it out, I'm sure. And he's, as I said, doing, very, very good amounts of money. And it was nuts for me to see. And, the reason I'm saying all this is because when he was, and one thing about Pete is the dude is so ridiculously hardworking. Like there's certain people on this earth where you look at them and you're like, you deserve every single ounce of success you have. He's one of those guys. because I witnessed it myself, the discipline and focus he had. But anyways, reason I say this is because, the dude was grafting with, outreach, sending out 10 looms a day consistently every single day for, 60 days, no clients, nothing, couple meetings here and there. And then I remember it vividly. It was I think it was the same thing that I had that week. It was the Monday signed a client, Thursday signed a client, and Friday signed a client. And between those three, and keep in mind, he lives in Cape Town in South Africa. Between those three clients, he instantly went into the top zero, like not even 1%, like zero. Like I actually, then again, I don't even know what it like. The dude was and still is, especially now that he has all those other clients, freaking bawling in Cape Town. Like, I mean, bawling. So yeah, like it was nuts to see. And I remember I just kept drilling into him, when it rains, it pours, when it rains, it pours, when it rains, it pours. And I was like, dude, wins and losses don't come in ones. And that's a perfect example right there. So, the thing with, when you get losses in your life, I've actually just found the best thing you can do is just laugh at what I like to do is I like to laugh at myself for the audacity to think that I can go against the flow of life and the experiences that are meant for me. And as I said, I look, maybe I've done a little bit too many psychedelics. I took LSD the first time when I was 16, and I had a lot of experience with psychedelics growing up. Maybe I've taken too many psychedelics. But I genuinely believe everything that happens in this life is there to serve a lesson, and is there to serve you. So, I said, who knows? Maybe I'm a little delusional, but that's my genuine belief. So, one of the best things I've found when you're getting these losses in life is just accept them. Like, honestly, just accept them. And if you try to fight and you try to grapple with it, laugh at yourself for the audacity to think that you can go against the flow of life. As woohoo as that sounds, I found solace in it. So, I had this situation with these 4 clients, and it's funny. So it started off on the Friday. I remember I was about to go to a super fun dinner with 5 of my friends, because now in the UK you can't go to dinner with more than 6 people, because obviously there's that whole thing and whatnot. So no large groups of people, and obviously, as you know, spreads. Well, actually, you know what, Tristan, if you could bleep out what I said, because we actually already got a channel strike from the second last podcast that I uploaded. So Tristan, if you can bleep out that lovely word that YouTube hates so much, because I said I think we're on rocky terms with YouTube already. So yeah, I'm not gonna mention that word specifically, but that thing that's going on in life and going around and people are petrified of. Yeah, obviously it spreads quicker after 10 o'clock. It's obviously very, very scientific and factual. Anyways, stupidity aside, I'm going to this nice dinner. And right before, I end up going on a client check-in call. And as many of you guys know, 80% of the time, 90% of the time, I don't go on client check-in calls. I have my team, Kieran, Danny, Luis, they go on the client check-in calls. And, I've worked very, very hard to find, train, and manage and facilitate an incredible company culture where I attract the best talent in the world. And, my point is 90% of the time I'm not going on client check-in calls. Now, this specific one I did for a good reason. This client, we've been coming up on 12 months working with them. And we actually had a 6-month extension that rolled around to their 12-month point. And this client we have been doing on the forefront, on the looks of it, we were doing incredible numbers for, right? So with what we had, with what Facebook had reported, and basically sort of what we had on our side of the spectrum, it came out that, and keep in mind this is an info product business, and we started with this client when literally he was making $3-4 grand a month, like his entire business, right? And we took a risk on this person. In fact, this person tried to work with us. This person tried to work with us 5 months prior to us signing, and I told him, I was like, look, you're just not at that stage of business where you could afford our retainer. So 5 months later, end up taking a risk, signing with him. Goes really, really well. Loves us an agency. We love him as a client, like as an actual person. Like I have so much admiration and respect for this person. Anyways, with the reporting and whatnot for this year, we would have been ads wise, we would have made him I'm going from dollars to pounds, so it would have been around 180 grand. Yeah, around 180 grand. So per month, that is, let me do a quick calculation on my computer, 9 months in, would have been around 20 grand a month. So 20 grand a month return on ad spend, right? Now, also minus our service fee and whatnot, that comes out to, roughly around, this is, to be honest, this is one of our, what I think actually our cheapest client. So after our retainer and whatnot, comes out to around 17,000 pounds a month return on ad spend. So keep in mind, this is an info business. So we are literally printing 17,000 pounds a month and putting in his pocket after our fee. Incredible stuff. I said, especially when, 18 months ago, this client of ours was making 3-4 grand a month, net. So I was about to hop on the call to sign a 6-month extension. I was going to tell the client, and so what I tell all my clients, sometimes I actually do genuinely after our minimum term agreement, right before it rolls into rolling month by month. Sometimes I increase the retainers, and clients accept it because I'm increasing the retainer or increasing our performance fee, but at the end of the day, I'm still obnoxiously underpricing our services. So, sometimes I actually just end up increasing the retainer. Sometimes I go in with the intent of saying, look, in the same way a landlord, he has a great tenant and he just doesn't want to bother with, finding a new tenant, even though he knows that he could raise rents. It's a similar sort of situation. I know that, in your place, we could have a client who has a higher retainer, or I know that, we can increase your retainer very easily, but I'd rather keep it the same and just have a longer term and, just roll you over on another 6-month extension. So with this client, I just got the notification for this client call. So this is actually a check-in call. So it's not a sales call. So I can be 5 minutes late to this. But with this client, that would mean that, 12, so it was a 6-month agreement. It was it was 3 months agreement, rolled around for a couple months, just rolling month by month. Then at 6 month, I basically came to him with look, we're either going to have to increase the retainer or you sign a 6-month extension, Now this was me coming in to attempt for another 6-month extension without raising, and on his side, he gets the benefit of, no raised retainer again. So that was my intention coming into it. So I come into this, and long story short, the meeting ends up with him being unsure whether he even wants to continue with us, because on his side of tracking comes out that, we'd only made him, rather than on our side from pounds, we'd made 230 grand for the year. On his side, we'd made him 100 grand, or I think it was even less. It was 80 grand or something. So there was a big discrepancy right there. And for 48 hours, it was this back and forth of we thought we were right initially. Obviously, he thought he was right. And then after 24 hours of digging, Danny Luis and I were on the case, just trying to figure out what the hell was going wrong with the tracking. And there was a lot of errors made. I don't say errors made on any side. Errors were made on our side. That's what I will say. So, the client did a lot of stuff with duplicating funnels, and then there was extra custom conversions. And then Luis made a mistake with, basically he thought that it would be safer to go with custom conversions rather than standard events. And he added a piece of code that then basically ended up with, for 6 days, there was double purchases, but that was only specifically for this month. And there was errors made on our side. And long story short, it ended up with the client being fuck you, you've only made me 80 grand this year. And which after your service fee and ads means that I literally made no money. And then us being no, we've made you 230 grand. And so we made you 20 grand a month net, 17 grand a month net after our fees even. And you're an info business. So that was literally 17 grand a month in your pocket. Long story short, after a lot of digging around, it came out that we had done, for him this year, after our service fee and ads, 6,000 pounds a month net. Now, look, that is still a freaking great amount of money. And especially for this client, we have clients of ours that want to make hundreds of grand, a couple hundred grand a month. That is their ambition. And then we have clients of ours that literally just want to make, 10, 15, 20 grand a month net. And, for example, info product businesses or e-commerce businesses where like after their gross margins, that's what they end up with. But, net profit at the end of the day, we have clients that only want to make like 10 to 20 grand a month, and they have other priorities in their life, or they have other things they want to focus on in life. We have clients like that. And, with this client, he kind of veers a little bit more towards that 10 to 20 grand, and just kind of wants to chill or has other priorities in life, and, just wants a different thing from life. So look, 6 grand a month after our fees and ads is great. Like 6 grand info product in your pocket end of month. But I was pissed. I felt like a fucking idiot from that situation. And long story short, I went from being able to, coming in trying to sign a 6-month extension to and once again, I will always go out of pocket because my reputation means more to me than anything else. And there is honestly not a single client that can with integrity ever say that we not only acted out of character, but ever did anything that was anything that was outside of ethically outstanding. Like I genuinely go, we as an agency, and then myself, obviously the founder, the leader, the person who has to run this thing, like we always put our clients first, and I will always go out of pocket just to maintain my reputation. Well, the one caveat is I'll never have a client push me around unfairly, ever. And that actually gets onto one of the other situations. So that is one thing. And you need to make sure as an agency owner, you step your ground. And my clients have a lot of respect for me. And my clients know, don't ever take the piss. Because I'm a person who really, I'm a very black and white sort of person. And I'm a person who, treats people with respect when they reciprocate it. So long story short, this client, giving them 2 months free. So I went from being on the verge of signing a 6-month extension to now giving them 2 months free, and then going, look, at the end of that term, we're just going to go rolling month by month. We're going to go back to rolling month by month. No 6-month extension or lock in or this or that. So that was the first situation. Now, I'm not, I don't really care about the money that much or this and that. As I said, just to be entirely honest, it was our cheapest and lowest retainer. The only time I get angry is when I think myself or my team could have done better. And that was the only one situation out of those 4 where I was pissed because I knew that me and my team could have done better. So getting on to that second situation, it was once again, same thing. 6-month extension, already had a conversation with him like literally 3 days prior. This client had signed for 6 months. We'd gone him out like ridiculous results. Account total October 4.5x. So that, for any, to put that in layman's terms, we would spend 10 grand to make 45 grand, and that would net him 35 grand a month, like in his pocket. And, this client, if I remember correctly, wasn't even making a third of that profit through his entire business when he met us, right? So really ramping things up. So with this client, 6-month extension, or, we just finished the 6-month term, and I came in with the same thing. Look, I won't increase the price, but I'm going to need a 6-month extension. And he said yes. And then I got a message saying, there's a couple things that I want to talk about, this and that. And that was actually one of the messages where I looked at it and I laughed and I went, whoever's up there, because I'm still making up my mind on that, this is a test. And this is a good one. And I'm going to stand firm. And I laughed at it. And, I got on the call the next day and I went on this call. And, one thing about me is I'm maturing as a person. I'm maturing as a business owner. And I'm not really, my DNA is not made for the services industry, as you can tell. I'm a very I'm a very black and white. I don't like bullshit. I like being straight to the point. And my clients know I'm like that. But as I said, I'm also, not to toot my own horn, but I think ethically there's very few people who have as much character as I do. As I said, even if you just look at the way that I treat clients, like as I said, that client that I gave 2 months free for, like 2 months free, but also keep in mind, we made this dude $6 grand a month. Like it's not like I lost this guy. Like we made him $6 grand a month net pocket take home. And as I said, for this business, that's a fairly considerable amount of money. And yet I still gave him 2 months entirely free because I didn't feel as though we gave it I didn't feel as though we performed at 100%. I feel as though we performed at 75%. And at my agency, that's not good enough for me. So end up getting on the call with this client where I said, incredible first 6 months, 6-month extension, says yes, gets cold feet, blah, blah. His concern, October, we had brought in a 4.5x return account total. September 4.5x. October so far, 3 weeks into the month, or 2.5 weeks in, 3.5x. So he's worried that, crap, now I'm spending 10 grand and only making 35 grand back rather than spending 10 and making 45 grand. And, I assured him, I was like, look, there's natural peaks and troughs in this game, advertising. Just to be honest, for all of our clients, October has been a shit month, and one can only assume it has to do with the elections and the obnoxious amount of money being pumped into Facebook as a platform and how that's inflating costs and CPMs. But I'm talking to this client, and like, that was just one of those calls where like I just felt so grounded, and I just felt my 4 years of agency experience in agency life kind of come into fruition. And long story short, ended up that call, and he was just getting a little bit cold feet. And I think he even realized that it wasn't warranted. There was nothing to worry about. But he was worried about signing a 6-month extension when he was like, I'm bringing on new sales reps and customer support staff, and I feel as though my costs are inflating, and I'm just worried that like we're now going in a downward trajectory. And I'm like, dude, it's been 2.5 weeks, like, and it's not like things are tanked and we're breaking even. Like, you went from making 4.5x to 3.5x return. Like, it's, things are still pretty good. As I said, there's natural peaks and troughs. And anyways, ended up that call signing on a 4-month extension rather than a 6-month extension. But I felt as though I dealt with that one really, really well. And I felt really grounded. And I felt as though, my natural tendency is I'm very boundaries. This is the way things are going to be, et cetera, et cetera. And I was very proud of myself for the way that I dealt with that call, as I said, because I just felt I was more compassionate, understanding, and really put the client at ease. So that was the second situation. Third situation was we actually had to drop a client. Basically, we've been trying for 6 weeks with this client, and and our issue is we just cannot come to advertise profitably when the issue with this client is basically there's an 85% bleed through between link click and page visitors. So that means if we're paying for 1,000 clicks, we're only getting 1,500 page visitors. And the reason that is because this client's website is so archaic, so slow, and we have tried to do so much. Like, we've revamped things and done a lot of landing page optimization and web page optimization and this and that. And like, sort of our last straw is now we're moving their backend system to Shopify. So this L actually kind of came internally. Danny came to me and he's like, look, I just don't think we can make this client work. You got to refund, based on our policy, and this is what we do if we can't get results for a client. I said we have different benchmarks. We have a guarantee, as many people know. So if there's a certain ROAS benchmark we can't, we don't reach, then I refund their money, and we part ways. And that's just, as I said, my ethically and morally, that's the only way I want to run my agency. So he kind of came to me. He's like, look, dude, I think we just need to cut our losses with this one. Since then, he's like, you know what? Let me have one final hurl at it. So he ends up, now we're moving their backend system to Shopify and trying to go from there and moving the website actually to Shopify. So yeah, that's kind of our one last attempt and hurl at this. So that was the 3 clients. So, what seemed like at the, literally, I remember Sunday, I was like, oh my God, I'm about to freaking lose 4 clients. One ended up amicably. Obviously, I went from having 2 more months paid left on the contract and then another 6-month extension to now, no 6-month extension, 2 months free. And then obviously from there, goes back to our rolling month by month, or, then it goes into the rolling month by month agreement. So that one, I guess, is, a little bit of an L, but it ended amicably. And the client was so gracious and so happy with the way that we handled things and dealt with things. And, as I said, I apologize for, the fact that yes, we still made the client great money, but like not where we want it to be. So that was that. So I guess that was a half L. The other one, not really an L at all. I still got my 4-month extension. Okay, maybe it's not my 6-month extension, but he even says that at the end of the 4 months, he just needs to continue to have a good track record to go off of, and then he's happy to sign another 6-month extension. So that's that. I would still consider that. I took that L to W. The next client, once again, it's not a L just yet. We're going to throw one last hurdle in. And then we had another client, and this is actually an InfoPower client that we're also doing a case study build for. And, she had cold feet and was basically just freaking out about the process of actually creating the case study. And, I was just like, oh my God, I don't need this. And, the email, sort of the sentiment was like, hey, can we take a pause on this thing? And, I went back and I went, look, basically, I was very, very friendly. I was like, look, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you 2 weeks free. And, as literally ask me and my team about anything, what to say in the case study slides, what software to use. I think she was basically just freaking out the process about actually creating the case study. And I was like, look, we are here, we literally do everything end to end for you. The funnel build, the emails, the ads. The only thing we need you to do, literally the only thing we need you to do is just get this case study done. We can even consult you on what to say in the case study slides. We just need this case study done. And it just needs to be a screen recording and audio. That is it. And, obviously I didn't say this to her in this tone, but I was like, look, we are here for anything you need. And obviously we do everything end to end. The only thing we need from you is this final piece of the puzzle, and we can start making you great money. She comes back and, this client actually comes back and kind of gaslights me and is like, even goes, says stuff like, I like to go into each relationship with blah, blah, business relationship this, and I like to leave each business relationship with only good things to say. So I like to get on a call with you and give you some feedback about my experience with your agency so far, blah, blah. And at this point, I kind of realized what's happening. And this is, how I talked about that, basically the couple of situations I've discussed. And one second, let me just reply on Slack. I am going to have to cut this podcast short. I am sorry, guys. But those couple situations I talked about there, those were really, really important. And those are really important for me to deal with them the way they are. On the flip side, I know a lot of agency owners don't have a backbone. And, once I had realized kind of what was happening, to be honest, I was getting a gaslit, to be honest, if I kind of look at the situation. And then I was a little bit more firm, still came back polite when, I'm happy to get on a call and, I'm happy to get on a call and entertain a conversation, blah, blah, but I feel as though I've been very fair, blah, blah, et cetera, as per, our contract, which by the way, is a 6-month contract. And, this is still 3 weeks into it. So long story short, and by the way, if this client, and this is actually still an ongoing thing, we're chatting with the client and, now the client is like, I'm going to get it done, blah, blah, and is back on a positive note. But if things had gone sour with that client, I genuinely still would have ripped up the rest of the 5 months. I definitely would not have refunded that first month because we did work and, out of no fault of our own, did anything happen. But here's the thing. The difference is with agency life compared to if you're selling a product, you're selling a car, you're selling a whatever is, I always say selling a car is like, sleeping with someone, for one night. Whereas, owning an agency is like being in a relationship with someone. Like at the end of the day, I have to continuously, and me and my team have to continuously work with these clients, so there's no real point for me to try to argue and fret and, this and that over things. So that, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit about my philosophy, but of those situations, I literally thought I was going to lose all 4 of those clients, ended up losing none of them, and was very proud of the way that I dealt with things. But as I said, I wanted to give you guys maybe a little bit more of the brass tacks of sometimes what can go on in agency life and give you guys a little bit more context to the way that I like to go about things and deal with things, and how sometimes, you have to admit mistakes as a business owner, agency owner, whatever. And sometimes you also have to be firm and hold your ground and show people like, you have strong morals, you have strong ethics, but also you won't be pushed around, and when you have done exactly what you said you would do, and you have absolutely upheld your end of the bargain and more. So that was that little segment. Hope you guys enjoyed. Now, as I said, I am already 7 minutes late to this call, so I won't be able to get onto the Nepal stuff today, unfortunately. So I might even just do a full podcast on it. I might even just do a full podcast on it and speak on it there. So really quick to end up today's video, because I feel as though one topic October roundup is not enough. This right here is my new pickup. This is the Rolex, and I'll get Tristan to throw in some B-roll clips. This is the Rolex Sky Dweller. This is a beauty. It's 42 millimeters, so it's 42 millimeters, and also it's a little thicker on my wrist than, say, for example, my Hulk or my Pepsi, or any watches like that. It's a pretty thick watch in comparison. But luckily I have pretty large wrists, so this fits perfectly at 42 millimeters, and the thickness is not an issue at all. And yeah, I mean, this watch is extremely complicated, and it's it's 100% Rolex's most complicated timepiece. They launched this back in 2012, and when they initially launched it, it kind of flopped, if I'm being honest. Now, I will say that they initially launched it only with precious metals, so obviously a higher price point. Not as many people could afford it. And it was 2017, I'm almost sure it was 2017, they launched a steel model in blue, white, and black. So I ended up getting, at retail, the blue, which is by far the hardest piece to get. From my understanding, this and the white Daytona are the two hardest watches you can get at Rolex, steel pieces. And honestly, the steel pieces are like, getting a steel Daytona is much harder than getting a rose gold or a platinum Daytona or this or that. So the steel pieces are really the hardest watches to get from Rolex. Now, obviously, you've got things like the Rainbow Daytona and stuff like that. Like those watches, the sort of more specialty ones, those are hard pieces to get. But from Rolex's core collection, this and the white Daytona are basically, or not basically, they are the two hardest watches to get. So as many of you guys know, I got a black Daytona back last year at retail and gave it to my mom, which every time I see my mom, like when I see a woman with a Daytona on, it's just the sexiest thing ever. Like a woman with a Daytona is just a badass, just is. And so, every time I see my mom with that, I'm like, you're a badass. Like you're just, honestly. But I also feel a lot of jealousy because when I gave my mom the Daytona, I'm not really a big fan of chronographs. I never really understood, like I didn't have enough appreciation for that piece. Now every time I look at, when I see her, even though she has tiny wrist comparison to me, I kind of slip it on without doing the buckle, and I look at it, I'm like, God damn it, I can't wait until I have a Daytona again. Now, obviously I could just walk into a store and just buy a Daytona at market value. But for me, at this point in my collection, I'm just trying to, for the most part, build most of my pieces at retail and just get pieces that I get at retail and continue to build the already amazing relationship I have with Rolex. So this blue Sky Dweller, as I said, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. I like it way more than I thought I would, like actually on the wrist. It's Rolex's most complicated watch. It's funny, when I posted on my story, a lot of people were like, "Oh, like why'd you get that piece?" Or like, I think a lot of people think it's a Datejust. So I actually kind of like that about it. Is it doesn't look, obviously the Daytona looks totally different. So you're like, that's a special Rolex. Whereas like, this it honestly, for a lot of people, I think they just think it's a Datejust. But yeah, GMT function as well. So you have a second time zone. You have your month. Obviously your time, your day. Yeah, it's an incredible piece, and the way that it works with like the bezel to actually change through and flip some of the settings is just, it's very unique, very interesting. So yeah, that's the new pickup. Now, after this, I was in line for like my next sort of thing that I was on the list for was another Daytona. This time, obviously, I'm keeping it for myself. So happy I gave my mom a Daytona, but like, I freaking need one in my collection. Honestly, I'm dying without one. So I have a steel Daytona, and obviously because I've already gotten a blackface steel Daytona at retail, they won't give me another one. So I'm getting the white. So it's funny because like, the white is actually like, I think $2,000 more valuable than the black, but I actually want the black. Like if they gave me a choice, I would take the black over the white, because any watches I get at retail, I'm never going to sell in a million years. Watches I get at market value and this and that, I'm comfortable selling those. Watches I get at retail, I will never ever sell in a million years. They will stay in my collection. It would just be, it just be dumb for me to ever sell them. So, although technically, if I was a watch flipper or this or that, like it would, obviously it's better for me to get the white face. But personal preference, what I think is nicer is the black face. And I said, because I'm never going to sell it, I would rather just take the black face, even though market value, it's worth, I think like 19 grand rather than the white Daytona, which is 21 grand. So that was the next watch that I was in line for, but I've gotten, I've just gotten very impatient, and I want one sooner. And I know sooner than, I said, this is the hardest watch to get at retail. So right after the hardest watch to get at retail, I'm trying to go for the other hardest watch to get at retail. I know it takes some time. I've been waiting on this piece for 10 months now. And yeah, obviously, I know that I'm super lucky with even 10 months, because sometimes, most people never even get a chance to get their hands on it. As I said, built a great relationship with the brand, and, a good customer of theirs and this and that. But, I got impatient. So now the next thing I'm in line for is a platinum Daytona. So I think platinum Daytonas it's just such a boss move, because it's, platinum Daytona is a 60,000 pound watch that very few people know is platinum. Like, or very, most people will think it's just a steel Daytona, which is what, 10 grand, 10 and a half grand. I remember one time last year, I was actually on a date with a girl, and this girl had a platinum Daytona on. And like, I think I was wearing my rose gold Royal Oak, my AP rose gold Royal Oak, which is still, great watch, 45 grand watch. But like, I felt so like demasculated, like weirdly, I was like, this is such a flex on her part. Like, a platinum Daytona. Also, like, platinum is like even heavier than like rose gold and white gold. So first of all, like, I don't know how this girl's shoulder wasn't like one just her left shoulder was like fucking, I don't know, like power lifter sized or bodybuilder sized, and her right one was just normal. Like, yeah, I just remember like something about that memory just sticks in my mind. Like, I was just like, this is a big flex. So very, very excited to get that watch, and to just sort of scratch my itch. I know it's still got a very substantial waiting list, just not as substantial as the white Daytona. So that's the next watch in my horizon. Hopefully I can pick it up in 2020. I don't know. We'll see. It might be 2021. But I'm very, very, very excited for that watch. As I said, 60,000 pound watch that, it's one of those if you know, you knows. I mean, well, actually, I don't think Daytona is a if you know watch. I think Daytona is just one of those classic timeless watches. It's like, really if you had to have a one watch collection, I'd say it's your best bet is Daytona or Nautilus. But a platinum Daytona is one of those if you know watches. 60 grand watch, and no one, very, very few people would actually be able to tell. But yeah, it just comes in this beautiful, beautiful light blue dial, and it's just, I'm in love with it. So very excited to get that piece, and very, very, very excited to have this piece on my wrist. Because I said, sometimes I get the watch itch, and I want a new piece. And yeah, this is it's definitely scratched that itch for me. I'm very, very excited. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm officially 12 minutes late to this client check-in call. So I'm sure Luis, Kieran, and Danny are doing their thing, but I really need to get on there now. So sad that, first of all, I had to rush portions of this. I think this one could have gone on for honestly an hour and a half, 2 hours. And sorry I didn't get to talk about our latest project in Nepal. But for those of you guys that don't know, I just sent the funds for the next school. So yeah, that's another 400 or 500 kids who get to wake up every morning and get the education they deserve. So it puts a big smile on my face. And it means a lot to me. It means a lot to the team. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I came into this world with nothing, and I will continue to work very, very hard and amass a lot of wealth. And I intend to leave this world with nothing, and leave my kids the exact same way that I came into this world, with nothing, and to fend for themselves and make their own name in this world. So yeah, this is 3 down. 997 more schools to go before I die. That's my dream. That's my wish. And I'll keep working at it. So, ladies and gents, I hope you guys enjoyed this Private Victories podcast. And I'll see you guys in the next one.